An ambulance siren blares. A bus leaves its stop. And a coffee company brews a fresh cup. All sounds of a typical busy and bustling downtown street.
Don't play with everybody, man. You don't know
But on these two blocks,
all along Superior Street from Lake Avenue to 2nd.
the word typical just doesn't seem right.
What kind of feel do you get when you're down here outside?
Well, it's scary.
Senses are heightened and apprehension is growing among businesses,
Kind of scary because you don't know what's going to happen.
their customers,
I don't go out after dark.
and the average Joe waiting to catch the bus.
Lots of, it can be sketchy business and stuff. Lots of people hiding in corners looking like, kind of up to no good.
But we wanted to see it for ourselves. So we hang out here on and off for more than a week. Several days and a boatload of quarters later, the stories make sense, and some are hard to believe.
People throwing up, defecating on the side of the street.
Dave Jopi co-owns Old Town Antiques and Books with his wife Carol. On the corner of Superior and 1st Avenue East, it's marked by this blue awning. And just outside the door,
Alcoholics are here. They're in the bus stop. They're throwing up, urinating in the bus stop.
among the half-dozen businesses we interviewed, there's agreement that the last place on earth and its sale of synthetic drugs is much of the reason for the behavior.
$22.98 on the bigger size.
But owner Jim Carlson says they're wrong.
A lot of the people that we spoke with, when they did speak with us about why they felt uneasy, they pointed at the last place. Is that an unfair judgment on their part?
Well, I think it is, I don't know why my people are making them feel any more uneasy than the liquor store or the bar.
Carlson points to alcohol and hard drugs as the reason for criminal activity and fear.
No matter what they're on, I get blamed for it.
But he admits heavy traffic here does draw people looking for a handout.
Panhandlers go where they can make the most money, where there's the most people, and I don't like them hanging out front.
It can be intimidating.
I don't want to be a statistic.
Rosalie Sullivan lives in Graceland and tells us she won't go out after dark.
People ask you for money and get hostile if you don't give them any.
We wanted to try measuring the problem. We obtained records of police calls to Superior and Michigan streets between Lake and 2nd Avenues East. Back in 2008, there were 80 police calls, January through March. By 2012, it jumped to more than 290. This year, 630.
7, 8, 9.
It was 2009 when Carlson says he started selling synthetic marijuana, but he says calls are up because police are out to make a case.
I think the bottom line is the police went to the neighbors and told them to call on any little thing.
Ordered by the court, Carlson pays for 2 officers to be present here from dawn until dusk, running him about $35,000 a month. We saw them in action, dealing with alleged drinking in public. On our second day shooting here, we witnessed this just behind our truck. One of the men tracked us down after police let him go with a ticket.
You got a cigarette?
I do not.
Let me have a cigarette and maybe I'll feel better about talking to you.
He didn't want to talk at first, but later agreed. No cigarettes necessary.
Alcohol in public. Statute ordinance 822. Whatever that means.
And you would say
He admitted to drinking on the street.
We did nothing wrong.
you don't think you did anything wrong?
No.
Why?
Because I took 3 shots off a bottle and walked down the street.
During our week here, we caught several arrests on camera. What we saw didn't surprise those who work downtown. Glassblower Dan Neff described fights, loitering, and people high on drugs or drunk.
A lot of intoxicated people. I call the cops at least once a month for someone who's too intoxicated to even stand.
And he says some refuse to leave.
But I've also had belligerent people come into the shop too, just tweaked out of their minds, and I've actually had to physically remove a few of them.
As business owners and police fight to remove these problems, there's a lot at stake. Downtown Duluth is a tourist destination where businesses and those who live and work are trying to thrive. To do that, they want to make sure Superior Street. Hear the word downtown and what comes to mind? Maybe a bus engine roaring? That tink sound of quarters into a parking meter? Or some guy searching for a smoke?
You got a cigarette?
Yeah, you'll find it here. With the temperatures climbing and a real feel of summer getting closer, the tourists will be too. And that tourist industry may be facing a threat. Between a vacationer's trip to the lake and dinner in Canal Park, they'll likely find flashing lights, a battle to clean up downtown streets.
increased our staff downtown.
And Duluth Police Lieutenant Eric Risch says those cops are cracking down.
We're asking them to do arrest people, write them citations rather than just saying move along.
Police records show they're getting far more calls than just a few years ago. For instance, take Superior and Michigan Streets from Lake to 2nd Avenue East. January through March, police logged 620 calls there. That's nearly 8 times more than in 2008.
Yes, we're probably responding to more calls, but as I said earlier, we have more cops here. More cops are going to find more opportunities to have contact with people and move and address behavioral problems.
To see some of those problems for ourselves, we spent several days here, listening to the experiences of the people who work, pass through, or call these blocks home.
I'm an inner city person.
In her late 70s, Rosalie Sullivan lives in the Graceland and tells us she has stopped going out at night.
People ask you for money and get hostile if you don't give them any.
2 blocks away, Dave Jopi runs this antique shop with his wife.
People throwing up, defecating on the side of the street.
And nearby, Dan Neff makes glass artwork in his storefront window. Each tells a similar story.
A lot of intoxicated people. I call the cops at least once a month for someone who's too intoxicated to even stand.
During our time on the street, we see this scene play out. One man cited for public drinking showed us his ticket.
Alcohol in public. Statute ordinance 822. Whatever that means.
He admitted to doing it, but compared it to drinking while out to dinner.
Like you go out to one of these restaurants or something, you want to drink out on the balcony.
We're finding that weather has a big impact on the number of people we're seeing down here. For example, the temps are in the high 30s today, and if you take a look down the street here, not a lot of foot traffic. Businesses tell us as the sun starts to come out more and the temperatures start to climb, that's when they typically see the most trouble at their shops.
Without the police, you wouldn't be able to be here at all.
Like Jopi there, business owners we spoke with believe the last place on earth and owner Jim Carlson's sale of synthetic drugs are the reasons for the changing behavior.
7, 8, 9.
But Carlson says he's an easy and unfair mark and tells us hard drugs and alcohol are to blame.
I don't sell liquor, I don't get them drunk, and the problems, anything that happens in the neighborhood, they attribute to me.
Carlson's shop contributes to the police presence. Begrudgingly and court-ordered, he pays $35,000 a month for 2 police officers to patrol here.
Half the time they're sitting in their cars reading magazines or doing nothing.
Meanwhile, his store has been the subject of at least 3 raids in the last year and a half. For Neff, the sight of blue uniforms and arrests are becoming a regular thing.
There's constantly police all over the place, and it certainly doesn't help businesses, and people drive by and they see a bunch of cop cars in front of your business.
In spite of the police and the problems, he says downtown is growing, becoming revitalized and more vibrant.
It's really a safe place. I've never had any issues where I haven't felt safe.
And we get a similar take from Duluth Coffee Company owner Eric Faust.
The people aren't threatening, they're just out of place. They shouldn't be here in downtown Duluth where other businesses are trying to cultivate something much more positive.
While Faust says the people aren't threatening, neighboring businesses describe their street as scary.
All along Superior Street from Lake Avenue to 2nd.
I even had to go out and buy mace and stuff, and some of my friends even recommended a gun.
For many, that uncomfortable feeling isn't going away, but police, some business owners, and candy shop manager Matt Martirano insist this is not a street to fear.
It's safe, it's fun, come down here. There's nothing wrong with our neighborhood. There are some interesting characters around, but you're going to get that anywhere.
If you're just seeing us, trust that we're out here doing the right things.
As the summer unfolds, these people will be watching and waiting to see whether the feelings change or if this stretch of Superior continues to be that uneasy street.
I'm Alan Hoagland for Eyewitness News.